All right, all right. So, Fisherman's Friend. We've talked about Fisherman's Friend on this podcast, and people are shocked by it. It's one of the best cough drops that I've ever had. You are just getting over a cough here, so I'm
Yeah.
going to offer you a Fisherman's Friend because you never had one.
Never heard of it before.
All right. Well, I'm about to change your life. Okay. The boys out in Tunkhannock told me about Fisherman's Friend. So here you are. Feel free to grab one. And the boys out in Tunkhannock, they know a lot. They know a lot. They live off the land a lot.
Original extra strong menthol.
It's like you're smoking a menthol cigarette, but you're not.
That's good. What the hell?
Uh-huh.
It looks like some kind of like cat food.
Try it out, bro. I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. If you like it, the pack is yours.
Oh.
On me.
A little chalky initially.
Now, in about like 2 minutes or so, I want you to grab your water. I want you to take a sip.
All right.
And you tell me how that is, But in the meantime, as you give us your taste test, we got to let it sit there and linger around for a little bit. I want to just share some exciting news that it is Atmosphere Week. It is officially Atmosphere Week. And you know what's funny? Because last time you and I were talking on your show, we were talking about atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so it is officially Atmosphere Week. Once again, this podcast, it is, what day is it? November 16th or the 15th. By the time that we release this podcast, our second event would have already happened, which we've been talking about on the show. It is a 3v3 charity basketball tournament at Marywood University.
No kidding.
Yes, sir. We got it. We're pulling it off.
That's coming up. It'll already have happened.
This Sunday.
Okay,
Sunday,
so
the event is happening. Yep. So 75% of the proceeds are going to be going towards the United Neighborhood Centers through the Feed a Friend program, which is sponsored by WNEP. And so Atmosphere, we've always wanted to do more community-based. We take Atmosphere and we look at it as a community engagement platform. And so when it's Atmosphere Week, it is the best week of my life because no matter what happens at the end of the day, I always tell myself it's Atmosphere Week because there goes so much work into building and planning an event, and you're burnt out by the end of it.
Yeah.
And so here we are, only 2 days away, tying the loose ends and getting ready to do it again. And this time it is a basketball tournament rather than a musical festival, which we hosted in the summer of July.
That's cool.
Amazing. Bro.
It's cool taking like what you're doing and like doing like events that make an impact.
I agree. And you have experience with that. You have a lot of experience.
A little bit, yeah.
You have experience with
I
that.
mean, that's why I started it,
Yes.
And I've been doing that my entire career. It's like, kind of helping out where I can. I feel like you're when you're put in certain positions where you have those opportunities to do so, you should.
I agree entirely, and I'm excited to see this coming to fruition because I'll be honest, the numbers of the team signing up were alarming, and I was this close to pulling a plug, but my colleagues were like, "Kev, stay in it, let's make it happen. We're gonna make it happen," and here we are. In a matter of a week, we've moved mountains, bro. We moved mountains, and we were able to really capitalize on this opportunity at Marywood. So we're excited. Now, what is a review on Fisherman's Friend? Mr. Popko.
Let's get some water going here. Still chalky.
Is it refreshing? Is it cooling?
Oh, it's cool.
Is it maybe the best cough drop you've ever had?
It's up there. I mean, I'm a typically a Halls guy,
Okay.
Just go to the CVS or whatever, grab some Halls. But I don't get sick often. And this is like, and the fact that this has been a week long. I mean, we actually canceled last week. I'm not like sick and contagious now, but last week was weird. But it's still, and it's not good for a guy who talks on the microphone.
I hear you. I know you had mentioned that you had commentated a Kings college game, correct?
Yeah, I did a Kings game last week. The day after, we had rescheduled. I had a podcast last night. I got to do a radio show tomorrow night. And it sounds terrible. So I apologize for anyone watching or listening to this. It's typically not my voice, but
hey, you know what, man? I'm super appreciative that you are here for episode 120 of the Middleman Podcast. Who do we have here, ladies and gentlemen? This man right here, his name is Johnny Popko. If you are within the area, the NEPA, Scranton area, I feel like your name definitely rings throughout this town.
I hope so.
Yeah, man.
I hope so. I mean, that's what's cool about it. I hopefully all good things,
Most certainly. I sit here and I commend you for, definitely paving the way for a lot of artists who want to get on a podcast out here. I know so many people who have been on your show. There's so many people that aren't even in this area that gravitate towards your show because you do a fantastic job with interviewing guests. And, your interview dynamic is similar as in, as what we are trying to achieve, I would say. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, we do it two different ways. You do it virtually as I do it in person.
This is the better way. This is the better way. In person is so much better. Convenience purposes, doing it virtually has benefited me, talking to a lot of out of town guests and then just doing it at night when my kids are sleeping. Hopefully one day, I feel like I've made it right now. The lights are on me. The lights are shining bright. I got the call from the middleman. I'm like, yo, I made it.
Dude, I made it on your show, bro. I made it on your show. I really do appreciate that. We're out here just doing our thing. And I really appreciate that comment because I've been on a tear. I've been on a tear lately. And I've been changing up my social media platform. I've been trying new things, and I feel unstoppable right now. Like I don't want to sound like an egotistical asshole right now. I really don't. But I feel like I'm on a tear, bro, and I feel great. And I'm excited of the trajectory of where the Middleman Podcast is going, bro.
Keep it with it because, I know how you feel. There's moments where I'm like, I'm at right there. It's going to break. I'm going to get to the next level. And then, I don't know, you beat yourself up over it or, a family thing pops up or a work thing and you kind of deflates you a little bit, but then you climb the mountain again. And that's a cool feeling. So I hope you keep on that.
I'm trying to maintain it. We're coming towards the end of the year here and we've had one hell of a year, man. So welcome to the Middleman Podcast. You were so kind to let me on your show in June. In June, I was invited to join your show. I was episode 193 of the Popko Project, which has been an ongoing podcast for how many years now?
It'll be 4 years, December 5th. So we're coming up on 4 years.
Wow, man, that's a long time. You've been at it for quite some time. Consistently,
yeah. I maybe missed, I think, maybe 5 weeks.
Wow, in the course of 4 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that is insane, bro.
Yeah, I came out of the gate pretty hot. I was doing 2 a week, and I'm like, I gotta calm down.
Mm-hmm.
It got to be a lot, and I'm sure you can appreciate this. It's there's times where I'll record 3 a week. So I could have a backlog and kind of, I could take a week off and kind of reset myself and kind of recharge. And it's funny because, you go a week or two without doing one and you feel kind of lost and you get back into it and it's okay. It's riding a bike. It's it's cool.
So when you take those, when you do all the backlogging, right, and you take that reset, let me ask you, do you actually feel like you're getting a chance to reset and sit there with your own thoughts, or do you feel like it's just you're working at a different point of the podcast because now you're just not doing interviews? That doesn't mean that you're not still actively working on your reels and things like that, right?
Right, yeah. You still release every week. You still do the reels. You still post on social media. It's still constantly a thing, but it's not like, oh, I'm recording, 3 days this week where, I got to make sure the kids are in bed at a certain time and, kind of pushing them off to the side or, my schedule, man, it's one of those things I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm so busy, but it's I have a wife and she went back to school for her MBA. She works full time. So she's doing class twice a week. I got 2 kids. One's in sports. So it's, 3 days a week doing baseball. Not anymore. Fall ball's over, but, for, 2 months, it was every, 3 days a week, practice games, and then there's nights where I just want to sit down and I genuinely love my wife. We've been together for 16 years. We'll be married 10 years next year. We love each other's company. So it's nice to sit on the couch and talk about whatever, or just watch junk TV, whatever it might be. So my life is very, I don't want to say chaotic. We do our best to manage it all, but it's always, something. And now I'm doing the King's College basketball games, and it's always something, man.
It's constantly on the go. And, I've been thinking about this recently, and I want to see if you can relate to it. I feel like with the podcast, with what we do, we're living in 3 different time zones constantly. Okay, we're living in the past because we're reviewing our footage, we're reviewing our podcast, we're making reels, we're typing up captions.
Yeah.
We're living in a present because we're here, we're having this conversation, we're booking our shows, we're reviewing footage, we're doing our research, right? And you're also living in a future because now you're planning out your schedule for your next guest. You're making sure that these days all line up. You're making sure that these drop dates all make sense. Do you feel like that from time to time, that you're living in 3 different time zones?
I never thought of it like that, but yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're right, because you're and I honestly, I hate rewatching my own stuff. It's just like, hearing yourself talk. It's just like, oh my God. And then you critique every little thing you do. It's like, oh, I mumbled those words. Like, what am I doing? Or, you jump around and it's like, wow, that was not cohesive at all. Like, what are you doing? It's like, and sometimes it's just like better not to watch it.
No, I get exactly what you're saying. I mean, I probably hear the same conversation 5 times before we release it.
Yeah.
Because I'm going through it and then I'm re-listening to it and then I might have to listen to it again twice, just make sure I didn't miss anything. Then I watch the final product of the video and then I'm making reels out of the videos. So I'm watching the video again.
Yeah.
So all in all, man, I feel like I'm reviewing the footage about 5 times. And I'm like, yeah, I know what happened there.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I don't edit mine at all, which may be a good thing and a bad thing. So I don't have to watch the whole thing again. But doing the clips and stuff like that, it's like going back and doing those.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, I do use an AI service to kind of grab those, but it's good, but it's also like it kind of picks and chooses for you. But it goes down to one of those things. It's like I don't have a lot of time. I mean, one day I hope to get to a level where it's in person, it's in studio, where I can hire, 1 or 2 people to like make it like aces. But until that time, I don't know when that's going to be. I'm trying to just kind of piece it all together.
So let's just take a step back here real quick. And I think it's really important for the people who don't know you. How did you end up getting into this realm? How did you end up getting into podcasting? There is a very interesting article from that was written about you from a journalist in Colorado that I found on your link tree. And
Yeah.
I went there and they did a really good job at recapping, kind of your journey within this industry, but why don't you tell the story and then we'll go from there.
Well, I've been in media for 20 years. I knew when I was in college, I wanted to. I went into college. I wanted to be in accounting. My first year, I was like, "This is stupid." A, it's hard, and B, I wouldn't find joy in this at all. So I switched my major to marketing, and I always wanted to like work with like musicians, and I always wanted to be an A&R coordinator, which I think artists and repertoire, kind of like, finding new artists,
Yeah.
bringing them into the fold. I think it's probably different now. I don't know how that works, but that would have, back in 2001 through 2005, that would have you would need to like move to like New York City. I wasn't about to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I wanted to be in and around music, and I got the internship at the Weekender, which the Weekender back in the day was the Bible for entertainment. I'll say R.I.P. It still lives on the internet, but it's not done very well. Well, I shouldn't say that's not fair. It's just not what it used to be. It's much different.
What was it?
Back in the day, dude, it was a weekly entertainment newspaper,
Mm-hmm.
and inside was it could have 80 pages a week, 90 pages a week, just full of like ads, concert venue ads, bar ads, restaurants. It was just a whole thing of entertainment. So everyone would like pick it up on Wednesdays, and they would map out their weekend.
That makes sense.
So
The
they look
Weekender, they're
like,
giving
oh
you-
yeah,
yeah.
oh before it was Hail Marys, it was Whistles. At Whistles on Thursday, they're doing it's karaoke night, dollar drafts, whatever. Tinks, same thing. Like you would just plan out like what you were doing based on like happy hours and drink specials and things like that.
What a time to be alive.
Oh, dude, it was. I mean, I started there as an intern. I got hired full time. I got paid to party. It was the best job out of college. I got paid to party.
Well,
not a lot of money, but I got paid to party.
So you went into college for accounting, and then you realized that you didn't want to work with accounting, so you switched to a media major, or
Well, I switched to marketing.
marketing.
I knew,
okay,
yeah.
Excuse me.
I knew I wanted to like, I felt like that was like a better avenue, like marketing, sales, things like that. So I actually got an internship at the Weekender in 04. And I remember being there, and I said, I want to work for this company someday. And one day I want to be the GM of this newspaper. And that was 04. And I was like, I'm a 21-year-old kid. It's like a pipe dream almost, And it's funny looking back. Like I went from intern to general manager at the Weekender. And
How long did that take?
Well, I got hired full time in 05 as a marketing and sales associate. And I did that for 2 years. Again, I got paid to party. I would just run promotions at different bars and different venues. Like we would just show up, and we would have like things like we did stuff with a Coors Light. We'd have like a Coors Light carnival. It was just I would still be working with all these bars and venues. Did that for 2 years, but I'm seeing all the money that these sales reps are making compared to what I'm making, and I'm like, all right, this has been fun for the past 2 years, but like I gotta grow up and make some money. And one of the reps, her name was Katie, and she was leaving, and she had the biggest territory, all the best bars and clubs. And so I applied for that. And what was good about that is I had already known all of her accounts because I was working with them in some fashion. So I was like a shoe-in. Like I knew the business. I knew like how it all worked. Got that job. That was 07. So it was cool for about a year. And then 08 came and the bottom fell out in the recession. But so I did sales for 2 years. And I thought, maybe I don't want to do this sales game anymore. I thought about leaving. Then they promoted me to director of sales. So I was still doing sales, but I was overseeing a team of salespeople. And then 3 years later, the general manager, she was leaving, and they needed to hire somebody. Again, I knew the business. I'd been there for 8 years, whatever at the time, and applied for that, and I got the general manager job. I did that for a year.
You really worked your way up, though.
I did. Yeah. Put the time in. Yeah.
And then, so you were there for a year.
I did. It was GM for a year. And then an out-of-town company bought it. And like many things, it was, before that it was, locally owned. You had that like community connection. Out-of-town company buys it. They move all the production out of like down in North Carolina. And it was just every week I'm apologizing to people. Like their ad that was supposed to be like a color ad ran black and white, or the ad didn't run at all. The problem with the weekly thing is like if it runs wrong, it's wrong for an entire week. You can't just fix it the next day.
No.
It's wrong for an entire week. So that's kind of like the heaviness of it. Like it mattered. And then if the ad's wrong, and people are coming in saying like, "Oh, it says dollar beers on Thursday. And here I am on Thursday. It's not dollar beers. Oh yeah, the weekend are messed up. Like whatever." So weeks and weeks that kept happening. And I said, you know what? I'm not gonna let this company from out of town ruin the reputation that I built for the last 9 years. And I decided, you know what? I did the internship. I made it to GM. Maybe I've done everything that I was meant to do here. And I thought maybe it was time for a fresh start. And I saw that the radio stations were hiring in Scranton, specifically a station called Fuzz. And that was kind of like an audio version of what the Weekender was, in my opinion. The music was kind of like on par with that lifestyle. It was a lot of bars, restaurants, and things like that on the station. They also have Rock 107. They had ESPN. So a bunch of different stations. And I thought, I'll just get back into sales. I'll just worry about myself, because when you're in management, if you have 8 people under you, you don't have one headache because it's yours. It's everyone's headache because now your headache too. I'm like, maybe I'll just focus on myself, be a sales rep, have a goal, meet the goal, and move on. And so that's how I got into radio.
So Was it a difficult decision for you to leave the Weekender?
Oh, yeah, it was the hardest thing in my life. I mean, I grew up there. I met my wife there. Um, I mean, if I had it my way, I'd still be there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd retire there. We'll get the gold watch and, head off into the sunset, But times changed. Internet blew up. Social media blew up. And it kind of really took the wind out of the sails of a print product. People can now I'll just post my specials on my Facebook page. Why should I, pay you
For
$300 a week or whatever it might be? So yeah, it was very difficult. I actually got walked out the door. I put my 2 weeks notice in, and so the company that owned the Weekender owned the Times Leader.
Okay.
The company that owns the radio stations owned the Scranton Times, Citizen's Voice. So it was technically viewed as a conflict of interest.
You going to
the
radio.
competition.
Okay, yeah.
Now I didn't think it was gonna be like that. I was like, I'm going to a radio company. It's still sales, but I'm not going to a new print product.
You put your 2 weeks in. You did it respectful.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and then like, my boss, her name was Denise. She walked out and then she walked back in 5 minutes later. She's like, where are you going? And I told her, and she's like, I'm really sorry, but we're gonna have to ask you to leave right now. I cried that day.
Wow.
I cried that day. I was just like beside myself. Like that's not how I thought that whole life there was gonna play out. Like I thought that if I was gonna leave, it would be like we're gonna miss you. Maybe a little party, maybe cake,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a pizza or something. No, it's like you need to leave now. And it's like wow, this is how it all ends. And it was
an ugly breakup.
Yeah, well, I always reference that.
Yeah.
I always say like that, the Weekender to me, and that might be why my words earlier were a little harsh, and I do apologize for that. Gabby at the Weekender does a great job and with the stories that they put up online. But to me, the Weekender is like that girl that cheated on you, that you hate, but you also love. That's what that thing is to me.
Her name's Julia.
Well, but I know what it was. And then like right before the pandemic, it disappeared. They stopped printing it. They stopped even doing it. And then once the pandemic hit, there was no entertainment, nothing going on. So they kind of just went dark just because that's just what I had to do.
That's what they had to do. Yep.
But they brought it years later. I think it was 2003. I want to say, maybe 2002. They wanted to bring it back, and they even approached me saying, "Hey, we want to have your podcast and we'll host it on our site."
Uh-huh.
And I met with some leadership there, and I was like, I'm into this, but like I'm also very hesitant. Like I feel like I moved on from that, and I don't want to jump back in and kind of like have people think that like I'm going back to something that I walked away from or whatever. But I'm like, what are their plans to like relaunch this and make this a viable product? Like, you want to bring this back better than ever, blah, blah, blah. First of all, that's kind of impossible because now it's just an online thing. I mean, the Weekender, at its core, was a print publication.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't really a huge vision for it. And I was like, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I'm good.
And so you ended up going to the radio station here, and what was your job when you first got on board? It was sales again?
I was doing just doing sales
again. Okay, So you started in sales, and you had mentioned something at the Weekender that I've noticed is a recurring thing for you. It's reputation. Reputation. You've built a reputation. You like to hold that reputation high, and you like to people definitely acknowledge it. Like I told you, bro, even before we've met, I've known who Popko was, or I've heard of Popko because of your reputation, man.
Yeah.
So you've definitely built your reputation, but you needed to now build the reputation in radio. So you started with sales, and now you're running the Popko Project, and then you also have the Popko Radio Experience.
Yeah.
But the Popko Project came first.
So actually, when I got in radio, I was there for a year.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it wasn't what I expected it to be. It was, selling radio is hard. You're selling air. So people are buying something they can't touch.
Elaborate to me as to what you were actually selling. Like, were you selling ads? Were you
Yeah,
selling?
you're selling radio. You're selling commercial
Time slots.
Time
Okay,
slots. Yeah,
gotcha.
15-second commercials, 30-second commercials, 60-second commercials. Like, yeah. So like, and it's cool because like you're kind of part of the process. You meet with your customer. You know, you're crafting the commercial. You're writing it for them, or at least helping and guiding them. So it was really cool. It was really different. And I was used to, having a designer design ads.
Mm-hmm.
Now I was like actually like writing ads, and it was just hard, but it was definitely challenging, and I thought it would be easier to, kind of pull everyone that I worked with from the Weekender over to radio, and it was a little bit more difficult than I thought it was. So I was there for a year, and I'm like, maybe my time in media is just like done. Maybe I don't want to be in media anymore.
And you're like 10 years in media at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's revelating. Like sitting there and thinking, damn, 10 years, and you're thinking you're about to pull the plug.
Yeah.
And so
I did.
You did.
I did. I got a job. It was working for a company called eBay Enterprise. I was doing like affiliate marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So
more with sales, man. Sheesh.
It's still sales and marketing based, but it wasn't like media. I wasn't going out and hustling and knocking on doors. It was more of just like client management. But that didn't work out either. I was there for 6 months. I hated my life. I hated my life, and I think my boss hated me. I don't know why they hired me. No clue, dude. I'll tell you what. I don't know if I was just like I was the most qualified out of the people that applied.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we got to hire somebody. He's got the best resume. Sign him up. Because I mean, my boss, I won't mention a name. I might slip up and mention her sex. Nope. It was a she.
She.
She hated me, I think, and she made my life very difficult. Like, it was such a bizarre experience. Such a bizarre experience. She'd ask me to do stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, I'll do that, no problem. But I haven't been told or taught how to do that. She'd be like, yes, you were. Just do it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I would try and figure it out. I'm a smart guy, maybe. So then I would try and do it. It would be wrong. She'd be like, why is it wrong? I'd be like, well, I don't know how to do it. So it was just a constant battle like that. It was just mind games. I felt like I was getting mind every day.
Manipulated. Yeah.
I would go home. I would sit on my couch and stare at my TV that wasn't even on, just going like, what have I done? And I just don't know. I got put on a POP performance, no, a PIP, performance improvement plan. Like I'm
from work.
Like oh, you have like X amount of weeks or months to like figure your shit out, or you're gonna get fired type shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I've been working for 10 years. Like, I'm not some kid out of college that like isn't professional, all this kind of stuff. I got put on a PIP, and I'm like, I felt like a child. I felt like a child. Like I thought I did all the right things. Like, I'm like asking for help from my boss, And then I remember the one time she came up to me and she's like, you don't ask questions. Why don't you ask questions if you need help? It's like, because when I asked questions, you told me to figure it out. Like, what is going on here? Like, it was just mind games all the time. So I was there for 6 months, and then the radio station called me back. They got a new general manager. They're like, yo, there's a new GM. Like, you know what you're doing in sales. Like, come talk to him. We want you to come back on board. And that actually happened 2 months prior to when I went back. But like, initially I was like, no. Then when it got so bad at eBay, I was like, yeah, let's talk. And this guy, his name is Steve Borneman. Amazing boss. He was great. So I went back. I went back. I was there for 7 years. So back to sales. But like the team was great. The management was great. Like, just the vision of the company was great. And I was there for 7 years. It was awesome. I started the radio show. At the time, it was called Alt Natives on Alt 92.1. The station was called Alt 92.1. At one point, we got a new program director from Detroit. He came in and he was talking to people, and He's like, where do you want to see the station go? And I was telling him, like, I think we should have a local show. It'd be cool. And he's like, okay, cool. Why don't you do it? And I said, not me do it. I don't want to do it. Like, I can't even talk.
Did he know you? Did
No.
he know you at all?
He just knew that I had like a background at the Weekender
Uh-huh.
with bands and stuff
Okay.
like that. He's like, no, you'll figure it out. Like, there's no one better to do it than you. So I walked into an on-air shift, a radio show
Wow.
with no experience. None.
Did you believe in yourself?
Oh, dude. I still don't.
Really?
Dude, I mean, I'm my worst critic, dude.
Unbelievable.
I'm my worst critic. Like, I was just saying on a podcast last night that I was doing, like, I don't think anything I do is important. Like, I critique myself to the end of the, you know.
I think that's outlandish for you to discredit the amount of work that you've done, bro. I think it is extremely important, and I'm sure people tell you that all the time, bro. You really gotta like how many bands or just people that you've interviewed after the fact, like maybe months down the road. I really appreciate you for giving me that interview, bro. Like there's a lot of things that you end up getting out of people and making it public. And it's something that they wanted people to hear, and if you didn't do it, they wouldn't be able to broadcast it. So definitely, you're important, bro. You're extremely important. We're equally as important, because
For sure.
people need platform like ours.
Yeah.
Because think about it, if we didn't do this, just the other day, Twin Gambit, he was on a podcast, the one right before you. The way he approached me, he's like, I didn't know we had podcasts in this area. He didn't know, so he came on, we did a show. We had a great time. And, he didn't know that it was here. But when people find out that they are here,
Yeah,
they want to do it. They want to do it, you know? And so don't discredit what you do, bro.
no, I appreciate that. I really do. It's one of those things that just, I'm hard on myself.
Why are you, all right, that's a great question. Why are you so hard on yourself? What do you feel like you're lacking? What do you feel like you can do better?
Well, I mean, doing it virtually is
Okay.
not something I love. Again, it's convenience. It's not only for me, but for my guests too. Like, even people who are local, a lot of people, they got families too. So it's like, if they could do it at night, when it works around their schedule, it's good for them too. But again, doing a lot of out of town guests as well. So it's good like that. But like, there's nothing better than face to face communication, dude. You mean you have that little bit of lag online.
Yeah.
And it just kind of seems kind of hokey. Like, any idiot could have a podcast on the internet, right? Open up Zoom, hit record, have a podcast. So to me, it seems kind of cheap.
So eliminate the physical things. Eliminate the physical hurdles, the way that you operate. Eliminate that and just look at the podcast as a substance. Look at the conversations. Look at the people you've met, the people you've talked to. What can you say that you need to improve on there? Because those other things are just the best way for you to operate. And that's okay. It has to be that way. It's the best way for you to operate. We talked about it when I was on your show. You and I don't have a family. I don't have a wife. I'm young yet. I can manage to invite people to my place.
You got
and not
this
feel,
sick bachelor pad,
yes,
bro.
I'm not in your shoes. So, you are working with what you have to work with, just like we work with what we have to work with. Besides the physical things that is out of your control, the thing that is in control is the context of the conversation.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the context of the conversation? How do you feel about your interview style? And if you're going to critique something, maybe critique that.
Yeah.
Fuck everything else. You're
yeah.
working with what you got.
You're probably right. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, if I was a little more prepared for the interview.
Okay.
But I also like that I'm not 100% prepared, because for me, it's like, I'm going to find out the same time the viewer is going to find out. It's very organic.
Yes.
It's kind of like, we're just going to see where this goes. And I don't like to have a script, but in the same vein, it's like, maybe having that wouldn't be a terrible thing. Maybe like,
It's beneficial.
yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's one of those things, like, we'll see.
There's pros and cons to, quote unquote, a script. In my experience, I've learned that when I'm fumbling the conversation, I quickly turn to the notes, and then sometimes it makes me not listen to what you just said because I'm already disassociated from that
Right.
statement because I'm already like, okay, that's going nowhere. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned. But I have noticed that you do your shows off the cuff. And are you standing while you're doing your shows?
Sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I started standing on yours or not.
I think you were sitting the whole time.
I think I started right around that point.
But you do write notes as people are talking to you.
Yeah, just either reference
Callbacks.
Like, oh yeah, it's like, okay, they said this. I want to like touch on this, later on, or just like, because again, it is so free flowing.
Mhm.
It just kind of happens. And it's like if you don't write those notes down, I might get lost.
You're extremely great at letting people run, just letting them run.
Yeah.
You ask a question and you just let them run.
Thank you.
And then, no, you're great at that.
That's one thing I like the most. People say I'm a good listener, and I think it's important. I mean, the show's not about me. The show's about the guest.
Mhm.
So it's like I want them to talk. I want them to tell their story.
I understand that. And I have the counter for that, which is, yes, you are correct. They're there for the guest, but at the same time, what is the same common denominator? It's you.
Yeah.
So we have to get the people to come back for you.
Yeah.
We have to get the people to come back because they know that you're a great interviewer. They know that you're a good listener. They know that this is how you conduct your conversation.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned, bro.
Cool.
Pretty intense, bro. It's a magical world here. So I'm sorry, we got on a tangent there. So you got on air in your first live show. You got on air. They just threw you to the wolves. How'd that go?
Dude, I was so nervous. Like, I still have that episode too that I'll listen back on just to see kind of how far I've come and also how further I need to get. Yeah, dude, it was so like kind of like monotone, just very like as a matter of fact, like it's like this is Kevin from the Middleman Podcast with his song blah blah blah. There was no like
enthusiasm.
I was just so nervous. I'm like, and I never knew like I don't know what people want to hear. Like again, the show's not about me. I'm highlighting artists that I think are really great. It's about the music. I eventually learned that like you have to be energetic and
you have to be personality.
You have to be personality. Exactly. You have to, be like this cool like thing between the music. Like you can't just be like, we have AI now. Like any robot can say like this, what song is next, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really got better at, injecting myself into it as well, and kind of find out like what I think I do a really good job at. And I'm not the only local show in the market. There's two other ones. There was a guy that was doing it. He's been doing it for 30 years, I think it is. Then I started mine, and then another station started theirs. And I just think I do it better than both of those. In that, I do research. Like, I go out of my way to find out, does this band have a show coming up? Where is the show at? Does the band have merch for sale?
Mm-hmm.
Where can I tell the listener to go for that merch? I do all these things to try and not only share the music that's really good, but also give a little bit of information about the artist that the listener might want to support or whatever that might be. And I don't think the other guys do that at all or as good as I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say my show's the best, but I just think I do things a little better.
You do your best to make sure that you highlight the guests as best as possible.
Yeah.
You don't want to cut anyone short.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know what you mean. So, and I get that, over here, we definitely try to put people's like Instagram, their overlays, and I, hitting social media, I'll put like links to their songs, on the story. Cause that's where I tend to like strive when it comes to sharing stuff is all on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I'm always putting links to like the person's song, the person's YouTube page, the person's website, the person's merch,
right.
Stuff like that. We always figure that out. So, you did that first show, and what was the response from the GM? What was his feedback? What was his thoughts?
I think they were like, for you never doing it before, it was like, there's a lot of potential here.
Mm-hmm. And
I hosted that show for 3 years, from 2017 to 2020. In 2020, the show got canceled. The station got flipped, new format, and with that, the show was without a home.
And is the show? It was the Popko Project at that time, or was
at
it
the time it was
something-
called Alt Natives.
Okay, just alt natives.
Yeah,
Okay.
on Alt 92.1 because the station was called Alt 92.1, and I cleverly was like Alt Natives, like I kept the alt in there, natives to the area, so it all like
Smart man.
I'm proud of myself for that too.
Oh, that's what that was. I was a
We
little
just pop a
confused.
chord.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I was proud of myself for that one. So when the show got canceled, that's when the podcast started, because I was like, I've been doing it for 3 years, and I always thought that I was the one like providing the service and the scene. I never thought the scene needed me, but it kind of like it felt like that because I was the one like promoting their shows and their music and all that kind of stuff. When that got canceled, I was like, I think I need the scene more than they need me. Like, how do I keep doing? How do I stay involved?
That's awesome, man. That's great.
And I had, when I was doing the radio show too, I was doing a podcast as like kind of the same thing that I'm doing now. I was just really like kind of like deep diving into the artist. So it's like I was doing that already. So I'm like, screw it. I'm going to start a podcast of my own. I'm going to keep highlighting local musicians and local artists. I'm going to put my name on it. And this is going to be mine. Like, I'm done building for other people. I'm done, the Weekender, I put blood, sweat, and tears into that. That radio show on Alt 92.1, like, I feel like I did more promotion for that show and that station than the station did for itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm done building for other people. This is mine. No one can take this from me. The only way this fails is if I fail. So that's how the podcast started.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that ideology because I think I did tell you in our show that I kind of had the same type of deal where I was looking for a co-host and the co-host was like, Kev, you're just better off alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so just do it by yourself. And I adopted that same ideology, which is this is it, sink or swim. We got to make it happen. And so we're making it happen. And so the Popko Project, right? It started, you said in the midst of COVID, okay? In the midst of COVID,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
Who were some of your initial guests? What was the layout of this show? Was the layout of the show always planned out to highlight the people that join you on the show? Or was there ever like a switch up in the narrative of the show?
When I first started, it was definitely just going to be, local musicians.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted, because again, like I just didn't feel like they were getting served well in other places. So I wanted to really stick to that. I wanted to stick to the local scene. I started, doing that. My first guest was Ted from Don't Panic and his brother, who's actually in Bowling for Soup.
I know that band, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a cool like kickoff to that. And then what I also did too is I as a part of the whole podcast, I started revisiting old Weekender staff members. I called it Weekender Files. And I would we would just talk about like our memories of the Weekender because there were so many of them. And, I talked to the old GM. I talked to the guy who started it. I talked to, colleagues of mine and coworkers. And we had such a blast doing those. They're available to check out too. But like, again, people actually really enjoyed that because people who knew what the Weekender was knew us as people too, because we were always out.
Mm.
So it was cool for like people to like reminisce. And so I had that and then the musicians and the focus was, local. And then it's just kind of as it's grown, I'm talking to people from all over the world now.
And it's definitely grown, man. I've seen some pretty interesting stuff from that article in Colorado. I've seen that you were involved in a community and you definitely got your name out there more and more, So the name Popko, right? Do you consider it a household name?
I wouldn't say that. Maybe an NEPA. Maybe. Hopefully. Hopefully. Well, it's funny because like I didn't want to name it the Popko Project. I didn't want my name involved in it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But people smarter than me, specifically Josh Pauls, who owns the Ritz and was in Motionless in White. He's like, no, dude, you have to have your name in there. People know who you are. They respect you. Like you have to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, you're smart. I'm not. So I'm gonna listen to you.
It was a good business decision there.
Yeah, again, like
It's
I
an
don't.
alliteration too. It kind of,
That was important to me too.
so it all works out.
That took a while to kind of figure out my brain, and then Keith Perks is the one who did the logo for me. So shout out Keith Perks. He's an awesome photographer and designer in the area. And it was pretty cool, like seeing the people support it the way they did after the show got canceled. Because when that station went away, it was like, this whole area felt gutted, I think. And the support that I got from everyone was really, really great.
So when you started from episode 1 to 209,
I released 210 today.
210, sorry, excuse me, 210. 210, bro, that's 210. A lot. What are some of the big major differences that you see from back then to now? How has the show evolved?
I mean, the fact that I've been able to interview the lead singer of Everclear. I just interviewed a comedian, Ben Bailey, who was the host of Cash Cab.
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember that show.
Yeah,
that's a great show.
Yeah, so like the fact that I've been able to, I just interviewed the lead singer from Filter. The fact that I've been able to build something where I could at least throw my name in the ring of like, they had that opportunity and they say yes, is like wild to me. Like, it's just like, if you told.
It's awesome. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I want to be just like you. I really do, and I believe I'm on my way.
Yeah.
Just because it's all of these names that you've known throughout your life that helped you get these interviews with other people, people who are like big superstars, you know what I mean? You're landing them, they're having interviews, and it's like you sit there and you're like, damn, like how did I do this? And it's just because of all the names. And what really is a testament is how genuine you are. You and I share that character trait.
Yeah.
When people talk about Kevin Martinez, a lot of the people say that it's genuine. The Middleman Podcast, very genuine. When they talk about the Popko Project, genuine. If you're genuine, what does that create? It gives an atmosphere for people that want to do for you, okay? Because they know that you would do for them.
Right.
And so with the events that we're putting on, the events that I'm able to pull off, I really think that the reason why people are so willing to work with me is because they see how genuine I am and how genuine you are, and that's why we're able to get these people who we never thought that we'd be speaking to.
And you're not lying to them. Like, you're just like, this is what I'm going to do, and you do it. That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the key in life, really. It's like, just don't be an asshole. Don't lie to people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think I've been successful in sales too. I don't just go sell people something that like doesn't make sense. Like, I create something that makes sense to them and it works. So it's like, and that's what you got to just be honest. Be genuine. And it's one of the first things. Like, when I first started the radio show, I would be like, "Oh, what do you think of it?" And I think people were like, they was like, "Well, I could tell you're genuine. Like, that's what it sounds genuine. Like, you care about what you're talking about." That was like an also nice way, I think, to like, well, you're not really like a great radio host. you're not jumping Jeff Walker from KRZ, who's been a legend in our area,
a staple.
Yeah, but like, which is fine. Like, I'm not trying to be Jeff Walker. I couldn't be Jeff Walker. I don't have that voice, and he's just amazing at what he does. Like, I wanted to be like this just support system and this outlet for the people I'm working with. So that was cool for me. And I think that's same goes for you.
We're both getting it done out here, man. We are both getting it done, and people are definitely I like what you said about the truth. We tell them the truth, and we keep it real all the time. Have you ever had an instance on a show where you've had to call someone out because you felt as if they were bullshitting you?
No.
And if so, no. Okay. No.
Not that I could think of off the top of my head.
Okay. I just want to see how you would handle that situation if that were.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things like I would have to know that they're bullshit me too. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, if I don't go into any of these things, in a debate, so that's like, it's more of a conversation. So like, they could be lying to me and I don't even know that. If I knew they were wrong or like, oh, that's not true, like, I'd be like, I would approach it like in a laughable manner. Like, you sure?
You
Can we look that up?
sure? Can we,
we-
Jamie? Could you,
Yeah.
Jamie?
Yeah, I got maybe my phone.
Hey, let's tap into tea time real quick before we continue in with the conversation. Michael was going to be our Jamie for today. He's like, check something out, but let's just go into tea time real quick. We'll knock out this quick tea time session and continue on with the conversation because I have so many more questions for you. So we'll just do one question here. Welcome to tea time, not brought to you by, but inspired by Arizona Iced Tea.
Can
Here we
we
are.
drink it now?
Yes, sir. You could have drank it whenever you wanted.
Oh,
You
I
could have drank it
wanted
whenever
to
you
wait.
want.
I wanted to wait.
Some ASMR for my people here.
It's motherfucking tea time.
It's motherfucking tea time. I like that. I think we should start doing that all the time. I'll do a cheers with you, and then we'll do one question for today because there's still a lot more that I really want to get through while you're here. So
I
cheers.
haven't had an Arizona tea. This is a diet green tea, just like I requested. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This might be this fisherman's friend may ruin the taste of this.
I hope not. I hope not.
I just finished it.
Really? It
Yeah.
lasted that long, huh?
Yeah.
We've been
Yeah.
on this show for about 40 minutes, have we not?
Oh, damn.
Impressive. Mr. Popko, I'll have you pick the question and
Oh,
then
boy.
just pass me the paper, please, and I'll read it aloud.
Mm.
I don't know what these questions are. We'll see what we.
Yeah.
Oh, you got two.
Oh, did I? I thought it was folded up. Oh, sweet. It's a long one.
Okay, this is a simple one. It's a silly one, but it's a real question, and I need to know. What's better, jelly or jam?
Aren't they the same?
I thought so.
I mean, if you said, would you prefer grape jam or grape jelly?
It's
That's the same
shit.
to me.
All right, Gomi J, you were trying to clown us there, I think. Right, Michael? Are you checking that? Are jelly and jam the same thing?
Is there a difference?
I don't think there is. I think he was just trying to make a joke on the question. That was a Gomi question there. They're not the same? Jelly and jam are different?
What's the
You
difference?
please tell me the consistency.
Puree?
Puree, okay. Huh.
What's the question again?
What's better, jelly or jam?
Jelly.
I'm going to go
Jelly.
with jelly.
Yeah, I don't like that. No, that texture sounds weird. I don't want jam.
All
Jelly,
right.
jelly all day.
Very simple, quick question there. I'm going to pull
I like
something.
this. I like the little break, little tea time. It's clever.
Just
Yeah,
breaking a conversation.
that's what I've been thinking about. And I actually started doing that on my show. Like, I'll ask like these like deep questions, like asteroids coming to Earth. Did I ask you that?
I saw that question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. There's no Bruce Willis. There's no Will Smith. Life's over. What do you do for 3 days?
All right. You know what? That's the question here. I saw what you said, and what you said was pretty interesting. I thought it was pretty comical. Said day one, I think I'll try all the drugs that I never got to try just to make sure I tried it. That's what you said. And,
Yeah.
and your guess was like, yeah, and in the next 4 days you're going to be recovering. So it's
Yeah.
not like, it's like not like you did anything.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to think about it because I've got kids and like
yeah.
I'm not a survivalist. I'm like, sorry, kids, we're dead. Like we're not even gonna try. Like just I don't know. Let's go to the park and pretend like this is not gonna happen. That's probably what I would do. I'd probably just act normal for them.
So 5 days, I know that the world is coming to an end. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I'm gonna reflect. I'm gonna look in the mirror, and I'm gonna probably say a few prayers, and I'm gonna be around my loved ones. I think it's a very common answer.
Yeah.
I'd jump out of an airplane if I could. I've always wanted to do that. That's on the bucket list.
Yeah.
That's on a bucket list. I mean, at this point, if we're all gonna die, I might as well try things that might kill me.
Yeah.
Because
Drugs.
yeah,
Jumping out of planes. I like that.
backflip motorcycle. Nitro circus style. I've never done a backflip on a motorcycle, but I think I'd be willing to give it a shot at that time.
Why not?
And with that being said, guys, that was Tea Time, not brought to you by, but inspired by Arizona Iced Tea. Cheers one more time, and let's get back into it. That was fun. Great question. What would you do if you had 5 days left?
Excuse me. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. You need another fisherman's friend, my friend.
No.
All right. And so, you were telling me prior to us coming on the show that you tried leaving radio and media twice.
Yeah.
Now, I believe we spoke about the first time.
Yep.
Wait, but why did you try to leave the second time? And yeah, that's it's like your life's work, you know. So I'm a little bit perplexed as to why you have thought about leaving this lifestyle behind.
So, COVID hit 2020. I'm a 100% commission sales rep. The show gets canceled in November of 2020, and I'm like, financially, I need to make sure my family's taken care of. I've got a mortgage. I've got 2 kids. And as a 100% commission sales rep, you do the math. if and I remember in March of 2020, before the pandemic hit, I remember being over my March goal, like the first week of the month, moving on to April. And I'm thinking this is going to be the best year I've ever had, like financially. But obviously, like it went so backwards. Like, the world shut down. All the money that was laid out for the year, gone. So that year was a struggle. And I'm like, you know what? The radio show's gone. Financially, I need a new, I need a guaranteed salary. So, again, it was just like, maybe this is time to pivot and do something different. And I had an opportunity with a company that I worked with for years, a company that I respected so much. His name's Axelrad Screen Printing in Wilkes-Barre, Dave Maloney and Matt Shrivel. The owners, like, I saw them build that from to nothing to what it is. And it was another one of those things. He's like, I need a guy like you to kind of be my right-hand guy. And, we're moving in this new huge building. Like, I need someone of your caliber to kind of like help with all these processes. And he made me an offer, and it was, the salary was a little more than I was making at, in radio and plus commission. So I was like, maybe this is just time to call it a day again.
Pack it up, pack it in.
And I was there for 7 years, and I was happy there. But again, the show got canceled. Financially, it was just going backwards.
You needed to stay afloat.
Yeah. So I put in my 2 weeks in December of 2020. I stuck around for, I think, 4, maybe 5, out of respect for the company of the stations. Just because I'd been there for a while. I had a lot of good accounts that needed to be transitioned to whoever was going to handle them once they started spending again. So I left. I still had the podcast, so I was focused on that. But I went to work for Axelrad Screen Printing, and I was there for 3 years. And then the guys at the radio station came calling again. We got a new CEO. Here's the vision for the future.
I love that your name keeps getting thrown in the hat for a new general manager, new CEO, whatever. They're always like, got to talk to Popko. Got to talk to Popko.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I really I'm kind of honored.
Reputation.
Yes, exactly. I've always been a guy that just you know what you're getting with me
because you deliver.
You just know. There's no games. I'm not here to pull the wool over your eyes. I'm going to go sell $1 million this year. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do it well. The accounts that I have are going to like working with me. So that was February, I think they called. Again, they had talked to me about bringing Fuzz back, which is back on the air. They're like, we want you to host the radio show again. We want you to work with, accounts that, we need someone at your level to be able to maintain these and work with them, and then obviously build new business. But
that's amazing, bro.
Excuse me.
You're living a dream of mine to be. I've always sorry, I'm talking about me.
No, go ahead.
I've always talked about how it'd be nice to get on the radio, and because people are like, you got a radio voice, and I'm like, it's just my voice, but thank you, or a podcast voice if you would. But yeah, I've always thought about how do we get there, right? Because I've told you a little bit about myself. I told you I'm an HVAC tech, right? How do I get away from that? How do I make this the full-time gig? Make speaking my full-time gig.
Mhm.
Okay. Podcast, I'm building my podcast. I find sponsors within that. And then that's how I build the Middleman Podcast. But what if I develop into something as you are doing, where you have the Popko Project and then you have the Popko Radio Experience? So you have your own individual project ran and focused by you, but then you're still in the same realm of your talent, but doing it for someone else.
Yeah.
And having a big name behind you doing that. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's awesome, bro. I want to get there.
I got
wanna
lucky.
get there.
I got lucky. I mean,
You didn't get lucky. You put in the work.
well, the initial start was luck. Just luck in that, like, hey, we're gonna take a chance on you being on air. I mean, I had the background, I had like the knowledge, I had the reputation, all those things. So I built that. But there's a saying that like luck is when opportunity meets, or what's the saying?
I know what you're trying to say.
Preparation is when luck meets opportunity. I don't remember what it is.
Okay.
I should know. I try and say that probably once every 3 episodes, and I screw it up every time. But yeah, I mean, just being prepared, being.
Let me ask you: was your personality always like this?
No.
No,
No, dude. I mean, I'm sure people like I went to high school with,
Mm-hmm.
like see what I'm doing now. They're like, wait, what? Who? What? I was just like very mild mannered. I was very like, I was never part of the cool kids. I was never part of the quote unquote losers.
You're the coolest kid now.
Yeah, right. But like I was just kind of like, I didn't get caught up in that. I probably lacked a lot of confidence. I'd probably say I still do. I don't walk in the room thinking I'm the man by any means. Like, I got so much to learn and so much to get better at. But yeah, the answer to your question, no, it's completely different.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of. Someone just asked me that like maybe 2 episodes ago. Or maybe I just said it out loud on my own. But yeah, it's kind of wild to think about. It really is. Like knowing like who I was in high school and even college to like what I'm doing now. It's like, this is crazy.
It's the journey of life, my man.
Yeah.
It's the journey of life. And you've been at it, man. You've been at it for a very long time, and you work hard. So like, what's next? What is the next evolution? What is the thing that you are most excited about to, how do you take, I know you and I talked about, how do you take the Popko Project here to here? What's the next level?
Well, I'm hoping that with the radio component of it, that helps take the podcast to a new level. I think that, being on a radio station, a commercial radio station, having access to, artists that you're playing, like not only locally, but like on a big level. Like, we're that station is kind of focused on new music. So, Billie Eilish isn't new. She's kind of crossed over to top 40, but Royal Otis and just bands I can't think off the top of my head, but hopefully having access to them and saying, hey, I have also a podcast too. Like if you want to jump on and do an episode. So I'm hoping that like once the station keeps growing, because it's only launched in July. So once that starts growing and, the marriage of the two will just kind of take both of them to like the next level.
Do you think there could ever be a possibility where I could observe you in that station? I just want to see what the room looks like. I just want to see what it's like in there. See what
You'd be surprised.
See what the pros are doing. What's that? I would be.
You'd be surprised, yeah.
Why? Because it's.
We'll talk.
We'll see it. We'll see it when we get there. Yeah, I definitely want to see.
Right back there.
I know it's right back here.
Or over there, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's right there, and it's amazing. I've never seen you walking out the building yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, where's Popko, bro?
I
I
don't know.
haven't seen him at all. No, man, you're definitely on your way. Let me ask you, reputation, legacy. That's a reoccurring theme in your podcast. Is the word legacy? What do you want to do? What do you want to leave off? I understand that you lost your father at a young age, and you don't talk about that a lot. And I'm not necessarily asking you to talk about it, but there was a point in our conversation where you asked me, how do I go about asking the tough questions? And I'm like, I ask the tough questions if they need to be asked, and that's a tough question, not as in like it's like a really hard thing. It's more so a hard thing to speak on. But I just want to know, like, if your dad were here right now, how would you feel about that, man? How would you?
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
He'd shit, man. He would. I don't think he would think it was real, because I do an on-air shift on Rock 107 too.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, that's what my dad listened to. So I would, just taking me to school or home from basketball practice or whatever it might have been. We would listen to Rock 107. That was his station. So for him to, like, his son to be on the station he listened to, like, I think that would be like wild for him,
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I came back to the station and got on Rock 107, I was like, wow, this is like crazy. Like, this is amazing, but like the person who would like think this is crazy is not here to witness it. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you never know what's going to happen. Like, so I do my best to, like, make an impact while I'm here. That's why I do the podcast at night when my kids are in bed, because it's very important for me to, come home from work. We do dinner together as a family. My two kids, my wife. Afterwards, we do homework. We play a game of Sorry every night. The three of us. My daughter will go to bed. She's too young to be playing games like that. But, send the kids to bed. Like, that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want my kids to know that, they are the number one thing in my life. Because with my dad, like, my dad was very much, he was a man of very few words. Like, I know that he loved me, but it's not something that we said often. And even the day he died, like, actually, I saw him. He came to the office I was working at. I was not living at home. And he brought me my golf clubs. I was supposed to go golfing that afternoon. So he brought my golf clubs to me from, my house. And so I saw him, and I was working, and so he had left, and I went to look up and say I love you, and he had already walked out of the room, and the door to the office was like heavy. And if I wanted to say it for him to hear me, I would have had to have like screamed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I'll just tell him later. And there was no later. It's like, you never know. And in fact, I wear this. This is going to be 20 years next year. This is a necklace I have with his thumbprint on it. And on the back of it is inscribed the words, I love you. Because it was those words I wish I would have said that day. But you never know. And I know that he loved me, and he knew that I loved him, but it wasn't really well spoken. And I don't want my kids to ever like wonder. And so, when you're talking about leaving a legacy, like, the most important thing that, when I'm gone, I love the fact that I do the podcast and things like that, because there's a documentation of my life out there that they can, kind of go to if they ever want to hear me or see me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, what I wouldn't give to have like a voicemail from my dad, just a voicemail that I could just still hear his voice. So my kids will have that, and, the relationships that I've built and created, and the good things that I've done. Like, I can't imagine, anyone saying something bad about me to my kids. Like, I want to make sure that when I'm gone, like, my kids know that I was a good person, and that I cared about people, and that I loved them, and I loved my wife, and that if I could live forever, I would.
You will through the internet,
Yeah.
through the podcast. You
Yeah.
definitely will, man. I love that, man, and that is, you know, as like sincere as they come, bro. I my heart broke while you were telling that. You know, I'm not gonna lie. Like when you had mentioned that he walked out the door and that was it. My heart broke at that moment too. And because you were saying how you wish you had that voicemail from your father, I've been really considering, and it's probably gonna happen, having my mom on this podcast and doing it with her and being able to have that, you know, forever, you know, and, you know, do it more often, a little bit more, like have her come back and have her, because there's so much that I don't know about my mom. Maybe I could talk about it on a podcast, you know, just talk about her growing up and her life. And I think it'd be interesting to see how different her life was as compared to mine, and how she viewed me as a child and how she views me now. You know, there's a lot to it, man. So I really do appreciate you for sharing that with us, for coming on the show, for being the most genuine individual that I've ever met. You and I are, you know, neck and neck when it comes to that, bro. Like people speak great things about you. People speak great things about, I would hope that they speak great things about me. But I know people speak great things about you. Anybody ever tell you that you're a big wig?
I'm a big wig.
A big wig in Scranton. Anybody ever tell you
No.
that? Well, this is the first time you heard it. You are a big wig in
Oh,
Scranton,
boy.
my friend.
People I don't know about that.
Need to know about the Popko Project. People need to know about the Popko Radio Experience, man. You really do a lot for the scene, you know, and they need you just as much as you need them, you know, and I really do mean that, man. You are kick-ass, and I send people your way because there's so many bands that want to come on the show, but I can't accommodate. But you can, and you will, and you even have a way to project their music and blast it on a radio station. And I know how much that means to people such as Gus the Savage. I know he's been very appreciative of you and everything.
I mean, that means the world to me to be able to do that. Like we talked before about when you have opportunities to do those things, like you got to do it. And I'm blessed to have these opportunities, and I don't take anything for granted.
And with that being said, my friend, is there anything else that you want to say before we get off the air here for the people? You know, make sure you check out the Popko Project as well as the Popko Radio Experience.
Yeah, the Popko Project on all streaming services, all social medias. It's the same on all of them. The podcast is streaming on Spotify, YouTube, all those places. And then the radio show is on Saturday nights on Fuzz 96.1. You can listen on the radio if you have one of those. If you don't, you can listen on the website, fuzz961.com, or you can download the free Fuzz 961 mobile app and listen via that. And I would encourage you to do that, regardless if you're going to listen or not, because we give away free tickets to concerts on that app and all that kind of stuff. So, if nothing else, download the app and you might win some free shit.
I'm gonna have to do that. Mr. Popko, it's been a pleasure, bro. Thank you very much for coming on the Middleman Podcast. I thank you once again for allowing me to come on your show. If you haven't seen it yet, I will say that is probably one of the best interviews that I've ever had. We really spoke for quite some time, and I was able to tell my story and tell how I got into this. So if you haven't seen it yet, episode 193 of the Popko Project featuring Kevin Martinez is available on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, everywhere. Check it out because, he's one hell of an interviewer, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and, support each other, man, because I'm so appreciative of you coming and supporting me here, man.
Thanks so much for having me. I think you actually cut me off of our interview.
I'm sorry?
No, you had like a bunch of shit to do that night of your own stuff.
What, tonight? Oh, yeah.
No.
In our interview?
Well, yeah.
Yep. No, yeah. I didn't cut you off. Listen, we were going for a while.
I know. I'm only busting your balls.
Like 10 p.m.
I'm only
or
busting
something
your balls.
like that.
It was funny because you're like, I knew you had like stuff to do. I didn't take any offense to it, but I'm like, I think he wanted to go.
I remember what I said. I said, "Hey, Mr. Popko, it's been a pleasure."
Yeah, like you wrapped up for me. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just kind of I took it and I ran with it because it was late and I had
I
something.
know.
I had a reel to do. That's what
I'm only
remember
busting
doing.
your balls, man.
But
It was
once
fun.
again, man, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone, I am the man in the middle, Kevin Martinez. Thank you for tuning in for episode 120 on the Middleman Podcast. On the road to episode 150. We will see you next week and enjoy the holidays.
Nice.
Goodbye.